Okay, I got it on? Yeah. Well, it's kind of bright up here. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Chris. I know several of you, and some of you don't know me, but my name is Chris. I've been coming here for about a year now. First time I came was probably about a year ago, and I kind of trickled in for a little while. And by the beginning of this year, then I was coming on a regular basis. So I have given my testimony at AA meetings, NA meetings, Celebrate Recovery meetings, stuff like that. And you kind of tweak your story a little bit depending on the amount of time you've got and what needs to be said or what needs to be heard in a particular area. And so I'm kind of going to do that here too. I'm going to speed things up. But I want to make sure that I hit certain points that kind of are important. So I'd make sure that I hit those. But trust me, anybody, I'm a talker, so we can get together. Anyone who's got any questions, anytime. This is really going to be just bullet points of my story. So I'll go back to the very beginning. I was the second born son of two parents. Yeah, we all have two parents, right? That really, they had no reason to be together. To this day, I can't even really fully picture them together, my mother and my father. The only thing that they really had in common, besides being human, was that they both lost their father at a very early age. My dad at 9 and my mother at, I'm saying either 8 or 10, I should know this. And their last names both started with O. So they were in school together and they always sat in homeroom together. I was a second born, only a year and a half between my brother and I. Now fast forward, I'd say my first memory really is probably just not fitting in. Not feeling like the things that went on in my head went on in other people's heads. This is going back to probably 4 or 5 years old, something like that. I just didn't feel connected. I didn't feel like I lived up. I didn't feel like I could say the things that I thought. Now, a lot of people wonder, or I often wonder when I meet people, especially in a church setting, when was it that you came to know God? Because a lot of people in church, they were raised with it, and they may have moved on or whatever, but they come back. And then other ones never really had it in their life, and a traumatic moment may have brought something on, and then they found God in that moment. Mine's a little mix. See, my grandmother owned a Christian gift and supply store and dedicated her life to Jesus and to showing the love of Jesus to others. My aunt and my uncle, very much the same way. My dad was embarrassed by his mother and his sister, but he believed in God. He would always teach me about Jesus on Easter and on Christmas and stuff like that. It was very, very important that I understood that Jesus was the Son of God. And so I had that. But then he did whatever he wanted to do. You know, it wasn't Bible understanding, because the Bible has rules and stuff like that. So this is kind of where I'm at. Now, at 5 years old, my parents got divorced. At 8 years old, I had my first taste of alcohol. I was the youngest of 5 kids that found some old homemade wine that my dad had made, and we went out in the field and we were drinking. We passed it around. It was disgusting. Everybody tried it once, started going around a second time. People were like this. Everybody went back to play except for me. I stayed there and I drank until I passed out. And from that point on, I chased that because that feeling different was taken away when artificial stuff made me feel different. And I felt this is a place where I can live. So from about 8 years on, and obviously, from 8 to like 10, 11, 12, it didn't come about a lot. But whenever I could, grab the old man's beer, or, by the time I was 10, 11, I was finding the older kids and smoking pot, and on and on. Anyhow, that's where I was. So also, I missed the most important thing. That's why I was going to make little notes and I didn't. See, when I was 8 years old, so parents got divorced. Well, I feel different. Parents got divorced, 8 years old, in a little woodshed outside of Menor Baptist Church, a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio. I gave my life to Jesus. My brother and I both did. And we wrote it down. And it was with my grandmother that we did this. From that point on, I knew Jesus, and he was in my heart, and he never left me, no matter how hard I tried to get him away, because lots of times I did. So then there was that drinking, and now I'm like, okay, now I found what I want. Now I'm going to start to really jump through life a little bit, because you got a little bit of a basis of who I was by the time I hit double digits. Needless to say, when I became a teenager, everything amped up. Still loved God, but I didn't work it. I didn't play it. I followed my dad's rules. And by the time when I was 16, my brother died in a car accident. He was 18 years old. And any issue that I had with following the Bible and stuff like that just really went off the deep end. Any issues that I had with drug and alcohol, and I didn't think I had issues. I thought we were like really good friends, went off the deep end. And so from that point on, yeah, it was off to the races. And that continued on. I managed to graduate. I managed to go to Houston for 2 years after I graduated. I managed to somehow make it back up north, and I made it to Buffalo, and that's another story. But that's where I met my wife. Now, I'm still just a mess. Everything is just about drugs and alcohol and surviving and living in the moment. And I met my wife. And that's a God thing, let me tell you. That's a God thing. Believe it or not, 39 years later, just last month, we're still together. God bless her. So we got married. We had my son. And I started to learn my dad. Not only did I learn about avoiding the Bible and working hard, playing hard, but do still love God, but I learned a real serious work ethic. So I worked. I was serious. I put my life in order, but it was working hard, playing hard. So when I wasn't working, I was partying. And I always made a point to be there for my son. But in hindsight, I can look and understand that I wasn't. I just thought that I was in that scenario. Fast forward a real long time, because it was 12 years until my daughter was born. And she's born. She's instantly the love of my life, daddy's little girl in every possible sense. And it was just amazing. And still, I'm drinking constantly. If I'm not at work, I'm drinking. I'm there loving my daughter, and we're doing things together and all of that, and there's always a beer in my hand. There's always a shot around the corner. Excuse me. By the time my daughter got to be about 2 or 3, my son was full-fledged teenager now, and him and I were like oil and water. And it just didn't work. Of course, I blamed him. It wasn't me. I was always there. So I said, okay, I'll take a little bit of this. I never really taught him about God. That was the problem. Yes, I did the same thing as my dad. Easter is about Jesus being born. Christmas is about Easter, Jesus being born. Easter is the story of redemption. And I taught him that, but then that was it. And so I said, that's the problem. That's the problem. I didn't teach him more about God. So I started going to a tiny little church with my daughter, bringing her along, and I'm not going to make the same mistake. And thank God I did that, and I did that for my daughter. But the person that really, really needed it was me. And that's when I finally really got close with Jesus, because that's when I first learned how to pray, because I never knew how to pray. The only prayers that I knew were little sing-song childhood prayers and foxhole prayers, or personally back-a-cop card prayers. And Jesus answered those, but it wasn't enough, because I had no connection. So I started learning how to pray. I started praying not for things, but for transformation. I started praying that God would make me be a better man, a better employee, a better father, a better husband. But keep my drinking out of this. And I did that for about 4 or 5 years. And it's not a joke. I honestly ended my prayers with keep my drinking out of this. I deserve this. This is the one thing that gives me the strength to get through it all. Because I really thought that was a thing that I needed. And then after 4 years, 5 years, God said enough. He said, you've grown in so many ways, but you can grow no further without making another step. And he started showing me myself in the mirror while I was drinking. The real me, the broken me, the sad me, the not having a good time party guy. And that was when I first went to AA. And I should probably wrap this up, speed it up a little. I'm sorry. So here we go. So I go to AA now with 5 years of Christ in my life, 5 years of starting to read the Bible, 5 years of starting to learn the difference between believing in God and following God. Because I always believed in God. I got news for you. So does the devil. Believing in God isn't going to do it. Following God. So I'm going to AA. I'm going to church. I find a new church. They're starting a program called Celebrate Recovery. I start to participate. Things are changing in my life. And quickly. Like really, really quickly. And I go through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I go through the 9 principles to Celebrate Recovery. The 9 principles to Celebrate Recovery, by the way, are based on the Sermon on the Mount, or the Beatitudes. And they teach us a way of living. And so from there, I've been a leader of 4 different Celebrate Recoveries. I was a co-leader in a regeneration program. And like Scott said, I'm going to be starting up a recovery group here. And the recovery group that we're going to be starting up here is going to be called New Story Recovery. And it's not because it's New Story Church, but because, well, it is, but I mean, it was just so perfect. As perfect of a name as New Story is for a church, it's even more perfect for a recovery program. Because, boy, is it a new story. So I'm up here to proclaim that I talk too much, I go on too long. I've got more that I can tell you. You can come and see me starting October 24th on Fridays. And other than that, I try to be around. And feel free to come and see me anytime. The phone, my personal phone number when we get started on the thing will be on the site. And I encourage anybody to call me at any time or text me. And I will get back to you as quickly as I can. And I would love to talk to anybody about anything that you're going through or anything that anybody knows that anyone's going through. Participate. I don't want to be under the bed anymore. I am now that light that I'm just shining, and I want to shine the light for anybody here, anybody that you know that wants to come in. Thank you. I really shouldn't be here right now. The only reason I'm here right now is because of Jesus Christ. He's dragged me kicking and screaming through most of my life, and now he's got me in a great place, and if I could share that with anybody, that's what I want to do.
Amen. Thank you, Chris.